Going live. And we are live. Let's see that howdy wave again.
Howdy.
There we
Howdy.
go.
On my way down to Austin, it's a perfect day for howdy, right?
Oh, it's a perfect day for howdy in a really hot city. So,
yeah, I'm going to melt. I'm going to
You're
melt
gonna
down there.
hey, Jason. Hey, and hey, everybody. Welcome to the More Insights and Strategy IT Talk podcast. Jason Anderson is the good-looking guy with the gray hair and the cool glasses, and I am the not so good-looking guy. I'm not even sure why I'm here. I think I just am here to make you look better. But my name's Matt Kimball. We are here to talk all things IT. And before we get going, we need to say that do not listen to a word we say or take a word we say seriously as it applies to financial advice, because if you do, you're a fool. Yeah, I'll just leave it at that. With that said, we have a lot of good stuff to talk about on the IT front, and Jason is smarter than me. And so I'm going to let Jason take the lead on some of the stuff he's seeing out there as it pertains to developers and what he's seeing for breakthroughs this year. Jason, what the heck are you talking about here?
Well, this whole thing kind of came to a head this summer with these people doing the token maxing thing, where they were trying to, somehow prove something other than spending a lot of money. I'm not sure what it was, but the idea of somehow flexing by using the tool sets, and between developers behaving badly, between some fairly robust situations with pricing where customers are getting huge bills and all of a sudden just terminating contracts with different model providers, the rise of open weight. There's been so many factors here that it really comes down to people are really starting to scratch their heads as to, is all this additional money we're spending to gain this developer productivity worth it, right? And I think it's kind of funny because while all that's happening, we as analysts get to see what's going on kind of behind the curtain of some of the vendors. And I guess my comment is that, are we really going to see developer capabilities move forward in the next 12 months? And the short answer is kind of, actually. So I do think that there is some merit with not just with open weight models, but with smaller models, right? Google just announced a new model this week, which is, basically optimized for developer, and it's a small model, which means it's going to be a low cost option. I just put a piece of research out about SwitchYard from NVIDIA, and there are other model routers out there from hyperscalers and so forth. So people being able to choose the right model based upon the workload, or based upon the request you're making. So there's stuff going on there. But the other thing that's coming that to me is most interesting is that I think part of the problem we see when we actually get into the work is integration testing, right? Yeah. So what happens is that if you look at all these tools out there, whether it's Kiro or IBM's Bob or any of these other solutions, people start to build this stuff and then they unit test it, and it all kind of hangs together, right? They pull the repo off of GitHub, they do their stuff in kind of in isolation, then they try to push it back. Well, when everybody pushes it all back and GitHub sorts that out, well, it doesn't hang together anymore because the whole team sport idea has kind of gone away. It's all about, it's become very siloed. And that's kind of why I'm really excited for some of the new stuff going on with people implementing canvases and development tools, where people can actually, instead of they do the work together, and they kind of add their context and their kind of point of view on it to get a better result. I also think that there's some really interesting things going on with like evaluations built into the IDE, which is something that IBM's been talking about with their Bob tools, and Microsoft's been talking about it quite a bit with their tools like Power Developer and so forth. So there's a lot of really cool stuff going on. And then to me, the most interesting thing is also this notion, the last notion is the idea of these developers are moving so fast, they kind of start to lose track of what they're doing. And AWS just open sourced something called Crew, which is a tool. The best way I could describe it is back when content creators use these tools to manage all their social media accounts, like TweetDeck or something like that. Crew's kind of like that, whereas it can actually manage all the individual projects separately and in parallel. So really, it's kind of like a way to abstract yourself even one step from your various tools and it connects to those tools, and it's like it's able to work on the projects in parallel and kind of keep track of things for you. But it also allows you to share those efforts with your compatriots to also get something of a canvas-like effect out of it. So I guess the short answer is that we're starting to move into this new step for developers as we head into this summer and into the fall, where they're actually starting to make the tools better. I think before what we had chat bots, which worked pretty well in terms of helping the developer. Then agents allow the developer to delegate it, but it wasn't necessarily it was a much better solution in terms of velocity, but it wasn't necessarily a better solution in terms of efficacy, right? Which now we're starting to see people really zone in, not only on efficacy from the point of can we make a better code product, which is really the ultimate goal, but it's also, can we make a better code product in a cost-efficient way? And you're seeing all these vendors trying all this different stuff. I can tell you it's a top-of-mind issue with every company. Whenever I have an application development discussion with anybody, it is top of mind, is how do we basically maximize price performance. And part of the challenge sometimes is to get them to define what that is for them. But once they do that, then they actually tend to come up with a set of 3-4 really good innovations or leveraging somebody else's innovations to make this work better.
Hey, let me ask you a stupid question.
Yeah.
Define developer. Are we talking where I'm going with this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, because it feels like there's, for me, I still struggle a little bit with kind of making development tools that make developers more productive is good. But when you have, I think a lot of, and this applies to kind of citizen developers, if you will, but even kind of formally trained and well-educated developers who look at AI as a way to not just make them more productive or be a good coworker, but allow them to do things they never did before. So like one of the things I struggle with is, you're building a product for a business unit or for the market, and you have no real understanding of the nuances and the challenges that exist within that business unit or that market, right?
Yeah.
And you say, well, I'm going to use AI to help me build this thing, but you still don't understand kind of the problem set you're building for. I mean, do you see, I don't see these tools as helping with something like that. And do you see any workaround for that?
Well, I think there's kind of a couple aspects to it. And this is something I've been talking with a lot of vendors about, is this idea of you've got professional developers who are going to be responsible for building your high scale, very high degree of complexity applications. So think of things that are going to get used by the whole enterprise. Maybe something like a database that tracks customers or some sort of key business process, facilitation, things like that. What's really interesting about what's going on now is that those back-end services can now be exposed to all these AI tools. And now you have this entirely new class of developers. And the truth is that new class of developers is actually really kind of a consolidation or consolidation of many different types of people, which I kind of loosely just call them builders, right? It could be a marketing person who's just trying to build content. And they're grabbing things from maybe not live code, but they might be grabbing artifacts in terms of requirements or in terms of market requirements or competitive intel from a product requirements document or a product requirements set of epics in a tool set. They pull that into their tool and they use it for something. It could be somebody like a Salesforce admin who spends their entire life making dashboards for sales reps and sales managers to justify where they are in a sales process or in a marketing funnel or wherever that is. And now you don't necessarily need those people to do that anymore. You need them to become, those people need to kind of elevate into the people who build it in a different tool set or the people who advise and kind of guide others through it. So this idea of developers kind of morphing in two ways. The first is the pool of people who can do it is getting bigger because the barrier has come down, right? So there's a bigger pool of people doing it. But inside that bigger pool, you're finding people doing development-like tasks or parts of development workflows that aren't necessarily complete. For
Yeah.
example, it might be somebody who is building a personal agent for a department, but that agent is actually calling the enterprise agent to do security checks or
Yeah.
compliance or logging compliance into a compliance database because they're doing something customer facing or something like that. So you're right. It's kind of everything is going broader and deeper at the same time.
Yeah.
Which is kind of why, just to kind of finish the thought, is I'm starting to kind of struggle with this whole shift left idea. I
Yeah.
actually am starting to think of it as a shift down idea. And I think
Shift
we've
down.
discussed this before because
Yeah.
you still have to have experts
That's
who
right.
understand the absolute complexities of the business, either from an infrastructure, a go-to-market, a operational aspect. You have to have those experts. And ultimately what's happening now is those experts have to learn to develop artifacts, in some cases digital development artifacts, to push them down into the builders.
That's
And then
right.
the builders will go make it.
Yeah.
The idea of shift left suggests that like somehow all of a sudden developers are going to understand the whole business, and they're not. They're just not.
I agree. Yeah.
Humans don't scale that way. So the point is that it's really about how do we enable expertise to trickle down the organization and back up versus side to side, right? And that's kind of what's how I see it going.
Yeah. I agree. We're with you 100% on the shift down versus shift left. There's
Yeah.
some element to shift left, but shifting down, absolutely, which was not.
Yeah, there's no way
considered
some
before.
developer's going to know what an SRE knows. It's just
Right.
dumb.
Yeah.
Right.
No.
So
Indeed.
there we go. That's my rant. What do you got, Matt?
I like it. I'm going to be pretty quick. I say that, and then I tend to go long, but I know we have a hard stop today. So real quickly, Hut Chips is this week at Stanford. I wish I was there, but I'm not. But one of the kind of bigger announcements I've heard come out of there was IBM and its partnership with Arm, where IBM, its next generation processor, which has not yet been named, the current name is Telum 2, but is going to support ARM natively, the ARM ISA natively on mainframe cores. Effectively, it's going to, you can have a hypervisor that switches between Z architecture and ARM instructions natively. This is not emulation. This is not some kind of transposition or translation. This is native ARM support, ARM ISA support on top of IBM cores.
Is it just a software thing though, or is it like are they using an ARM spec? Is it like Graviton or something like that? Or
no, these are not. So yeah, let me be clear. It's not building ARM cores onto the Telum processor.
okay,
It is the Telum processor being able to speak two languages, Z
okay,
and ARM. So multilingual, if you will, which is super unique. I've not seen this ever in my existence before. Not that it hasn't happened, but super interesting. And you go, well, why would you do that? The mainframe is kind of its own thing, and it does its own thing, and it's been in existence for 60 years or so, and it's been great, right? Well, I think that's part of why, right? The mainframe's never had a problem around performance. It's been kind of software availability. It's because it's been an island, and because if you want to run, those workloads on the mainframe, there is a porting challenge you face. There was a re-architecting challenge you faced. So you want to take advantage of all those great aspects of the mainframe, performance, security, reliability, so on and so forth. It came at a cost. So this opens up mainframe to 22 million or so ARM developers and a whole bunch of applications that theoretically can be moved over instantaneously without any kind of porting exercise. I say theoretically, right? Because we will see what happens in the real world.
Okay, so this is different though than like what HPE used to do with like Tandem Nonstop, where it was like you had to choose. It was like you either run an Itanium for Linux or Itanium for Tandem. This will actually run them coincidental.
Coincidental in real
That's
time.
interesting.
Yeah, in
Yeah.
real
Huh.
time. One core is running a Z app, mainframe app.
Yeah.
The other core is running several ARM apps
Wow.
simultaneously. Yeah,
Huh.
um, yeah, amazing, isn't it? And
That's pretty amazing, actually. Yeah.
it's not something that has to be done at boot time. You don't have to at boot time, kind of designate these 5 cores for ARM, these 6 cores for Z. It's a dynamic allocation based on the instruction coming in. So super. It like I said, and leave it to IBM because they are without a doubt the when you think of tech and science fiction, IBM is on the science fiction end of the tech spectrum, right?
Right.
They're always introducing new technology that is years in advance of where the market's going to be. And it's interesting, Jason, because back in June, I was at another summit, another analyst summit, and I was talking about how for the mainframe to be relevant in the AI era, it needs to be viewed as just another piece of infrastructure, right? You can't put up barriers. All of the data that sits there is business critical. Not all of the business critical data sits on the mainframe, but all of the data on the mainframe is business critical.
Right.
But in order to make that a relevant player in the era of AI, it needs to just be it can't be a silo, it can't be an island. It needs to just be another piece of infrastructure that is easily provisioned, easily used, and easily leveraged. And this goes a long way to delivering that vision from IBM. So it's a super interesting play. There's a lot missing. Like, how do you handle licensing, right? Like, how do you license?
Right.
Because the core story is completely different on
Yep.
IBM than it is in distributed systems, certainly on ARM systems. What does performance actually look like? There's how do you support it? There's technically feasible, and then there's truly supported. There are a lot of questions to be answered, but this thing's a year out from being delivered, so it's a TBD on a lot of these details.
Yeah.
But the story is fascinating, and I think it can help. It can help IBM obviously kind of lower the barrier to adoption in the enterprise and make it more of a global player, if you will, or a part of the community. Uh, at the same time, I don't expect this to lead to IBM starting to displace Dell and HPE with their ARM-based systems in the data center, right? It's not going to happen. But certainly, it broadens the utility of the mainframe and makes it a better player. So, like I said, the mainframe to me has always been kind of an island. It's always had its own architecture, its own ecosystem,
Right.
its own version of kind of every tool out there. By being able to run that same ARM software on the mainframe that you can, those ARM-based servers, it starts looking less like an island and more like just another kind of landing place for workloads. So, interesting play. I love what IBM's doing. I love the way they think a little bit differently about how they play in the world, and we'll see what happens in a year from now.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a good point.
yeah,
Cool.
yeah.
Cool.
So, yeah, IBM and ARM. You got it. Is it a match made in Silicon Heaven? We'll see. Great story. Great story. It's a great story. So anyway, hey, listen, I know we're cruising along here a little faster than normal because got some travel to do. Where are you? You're off to somewhere, aren't you? You mentioned Austin at the
Yeah.
top or at the
I
beginning of
will
this.
be flying down to Austin today, and I'm going to be visiting a couple of clients, but also on Thursday, I will be hosting a panel at Synopsys's startup forum. Synopsys, the EDM company, they do chip design and work with some of the biggest players out there, including NVIDIA. They are doing, I mean, Matt, know them very well. They're doing a symposium for silicon startups, actually. And they're bringing in experts from a bunch of different companies and from the world of VC and some of their experts on product. And we're going to sit down and have a chat with folks who are leading the charge of custom silicon startups and give them some insights on how to get their businesses off the ground, which is kind of fun. And then I come back for a couple weeks. I'm off to Dreamforce, and I've been talking a lot with Salesforce about what they're going to be talking about next month at the show. I'm pretty excited about a lot of the things they have to say. Can't share yet, but there's some good stuff coming down the pike from them as well.
Right on.
Yeah.
I'm going to be heading to VMware Explore on Monday out in lovely Vegas. See what's going on in the lovely world of VMware and the kind of the collision of AI and virtualization and containers and kind of what VMware is doing to play in that space. And we've got AI Infra Summit coming a couple weeks after that out in Santa Clara. For those that are watching, if you have not seen AI Infra Summit, take a look at it. It's the next really interesting AI conference that I've seen out there, and it brings in everyone from silicon players to systems and software and cloud players. Really interesting. But this week we have the 6.5 virtual summit going on.
Oh yeah,
so yeah,
you're
hosting some stuff. I'm hosting some stuff. It's worth taking a look at. There's a lot of, you want to hear what the leaders in AI have to say about what's going on in the market and what enterprise IT should be thinking about. This is a virtual conference worth tuning into, and you can go in and kind of download and listen or watch at your convenience.
And it's free.
And it's free.
Free event for everybody to show up. It is it's funded by our sponsors, and it's it's really they get some pretty heavy hitters. We got the CEOs of Snowflake. We have Mark Benioff from good old Salesforce. I talked to the head of engineering and senior VP of engineering, CTO's office at MongoDB. We talk a lot about data, and we have a lot of really great folks on there. And Matt, I think you have HPE maybe? I don't remember.
Yeah, I've got Intel, I've got Oracle, I've got Coherent, and I've got Broadcom.
Wow, you have a bunch.
Yeah, covering everything from security to data to cloud to connectivity. It's just, man, there's so much going on. And AI is one of those interesting technologies. I haven't seen this before, but it's like once you think you've uncovered one bottleneck, it exposes 4 others that you have.
Oh yeah.
And it's just and this venue, this virtual conference really kind of peels it all back from experience all the way back to the silicon and kind of exposes it all for us. So really fun conversations.
Cool.
Anyway, safe travels, my friend.
Thank you.
And for all you, thanks for listening in to this kind of shorter version, and we will see you in a couple of weeks.
See you later.